Can you jump on the screen, please, Metiria?
Oh, sorry.
On the
Yeah,
paper.
I steered through darkness. That's it, better.
And
All right. Thank you everybody for coming. I will not be resigning as the co-leader of the Green Party or as a Member of Parliament for the Green Party. What I do want to announce today is that I will not be seeking a ministerial position in a new Labour Green government. That's because I have been building a movement for compassionate welfare and for ending poverty in New Zealand. And I've been doing that work now for more than 20 years and 15 years as a Member of Parliament with the Greens. That work is more important than any one person. Change is coming, and I am proud to be part of leading that change at this election. But it's true that change always comes at a price. And I knew that when I first told my story, and today that price is being paid. I told my story and talked about my past, and it has been subject to intense scrutiny. I open myself to this because I want New Zealanders to understand what it is like to live as a beneficiary in this country, what it is like to live in poverty, and what it is like to live with the discrimination and the scrutiny that comes with being a beneficiary. And I will continue to work for as long as I can for a compassionate welfare system that treats all people in this country with dignity and respect. I will continue to work to end poverty in this country. Kia ora koutou. Happy to answer any questions.
Did you consider resigning?
I considered it, but I will not. And I will not because this work is critical. It is more than just one person. I have been very proud to have led the political movement for change for a compassionate welfare system. I have had a huge number of emails and messages just in the last 24 hours of people saying, please don't go because we need someone to speak for us on these issues. And I take that responsibility very, very seriously.
Did anyone ask you to resign?
No.
Did you and James discuss it?
We discussed it. I never asked, and I completely support her as co-leader.
Did Labour indicate that you would not be suitable in their eyes for a ministerial position?
I know it puts them in a very difficult position. They didn't ask me to step aside from a ministerial position, but I think it's important under the MOU to respect their concerns, which is why I'm taking the step right now.
So they've expressed those concerns to you today?
Sorry?
They've expressed those concerns to you today?
They have expressed concerns with me and with us, but I'm offering this to them because I understand their position.
Why are you not seeking a ministerial role? You said you didn't have any regrets about admitting this. You didn't seem to regret it at the time. So what's wrong with it? If nothing's wrong with it, why aren't you seeking a ministerial role?
The nature of politics means that when things go wrong, you sometimes just have to pay a price for that. And I recognise that. The work is more important than a ministerial position. The whole point of telling my story was to open the conversation about poverty and benefits in New Zealand, and I am still very proud of that, and that is still the work that I need to do in the lead up to the election.
So if you can't be a minister,
that you
why
won't
can
take a ministerial role because you don't think that New Zealanders can trust you now?
No, I just think that I need to take responsibility for my past, and I accept that some people will want me to do that. And like I say, this is not, my story is about me, but the issue is not about me. It genuinely has been, my purpose has genuinely been to open this conversation, and if stepping aside from a ministerial post helps to continue that conversation because it then focuses on the issue, then that's worth doing.
Is this
Metiria, can I ask why you didn't...
for you personally?
Oh, I would very much have liked to have been a minister in the new government. What I want most, more than anything, is to fix the welfare system and make sure that people are treated with dignity and respect and that we end poverty. That has been my #1 goal for all of my time in Parliament. And I'm really very focused on that. My personal position is irrelevant compared to that work.
Can you just clarify what exactly happened? I mean, were you living with your baby's father and claiming the DPB, or were you living in a different address? No. So the extent of the welfare fraud that you've admitted to, is that it, or is there any more?
That is it. So, and this is when we were considering whether I should tell my story. In a situation like this, with this kind of scrutiny, of course, you have to tell the whole story. So what I did was I did not declare all of my flatmates, and I'm working with WINS on providing the information to them about that. My baby's father was a flatmate prior to us becoming pregnant, but I didn't live with him after that.
Should you disclose that information that came out last night?
Oh, I just didn't know about it. You know, it was a foolish thing to have done at the time, but it wasn't something that. Yeah.
You stood in that election, though. You have to remember.
No, it was 1993. I mean, to be serious, I genuinely didn't remember that I was registered in that electorate. And so that's just one of those things that you do sometimes.
But so why did you make a conscious decision at the time?
No, I didn't feel the need to vote for myself. I wanted to support my friend.
So you made a conscious situation around your mother being your flatmate?
Sure. So my mother and I have lived together off and on for most of our lives. And she was a flatmate with me for about 10 years, over a long period of time. So, and it's been off and on. But she has been financially independent, as have I. It is not a situation where she was financially responsible for me with my child.
Was she your flatmate when you were misleading WINS about the number?
In one of the homes, yeah.
So while you were committing benefit fraud, you were living with your mum?
So she was paying rent?
Yeah, she was
to
paying
you?
rent. Yes, probably if I was the leaseholder, but I don't remember the details about that.
Was it an equal share of rent?
She had a room, I had a room, she had a room, so the equivalent of that.
Are you expecting any more surprises? Because you said you didn't remember the information that came out last night. Is there any more to disclose that you've known? Because I'm assuming you've been double checking quite rigorously over the last 12 hours.
Not as far as I know, and this is I guess the issue is that when you open your life to this kind of scrutiny, all sorts of things will come up that you don't remember. It was a long time ago now. So I don't think so, but I just don't know.
Well, are you going back, or you've got lawyers, or you've got staff, you've got anyone going back and looking to check this, to know that? Like, surely you should have done that in the first place.
Well, I mean, yeah, arguably I should have, but no, I don't. The wrong thing that I did with MSD was not tell them about the number of flatmates I was living with. I am absolutely certain about that, and that is the full extent of the wrong I was doing. These other things are, they're different issues. So,
Did you 3 weeks ago you said that you were proud of Metiria for the statements that she made at your conference. Does that still stand?
Yes, because what she has done is to open up this conversation around how we treat beneficiaries in the state of poverty in New Zealand. And if we had just done a policy launch, that would have been over in about 24 hours, right? So the thing that I'm most concerned about here is that all of those thousands of people who we have heard from over the course of the last few weeks who have said, actually, that is my story too. You know, I'm living below the poverty line, I'm being forced into these situations, that they identify with Metiria. And the problem is, she can take on the system, right? And in opening herself up to that level of scrutiny, she's in a privileged position now to be able to do that, but they are not. But the issue
over the electoral roll, surely that's something that you can't condone.
No, and something that happened 20 years ago. I mean, my belief is, frankly, everyone's entitled to a past, she did that when she was in her early 20s. When she wasn't necessarily thinking she was going to be the co-leader of the Green Party.
Do you think there are other MPs?
There's nothing more to come out?
Yes, and she's answered that question today.
Do you think there are other MPs who may now find themselves that they've been in that position of having been at the wrong address in the electoral roll?
Look, I can't speak to any other member of Parliament. I mean, you know, we know that there are lots of people who move around all the time. When I go door knocking around Wellington Central, you know, I go to 2 or 3 bedroom flats and there's 16 people registered at that address because they haven't updated, you know, people have moved on and they haven't updated their electoral roll information. I mean, it's just, you know, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
But this is a different issue.
This you deliberately enrolled at that address to vote for someone in Mount Albert.
Yes, that's right.
Why did you do that? Can you just explain to the country why you did that?
Because at the time I didn't really think about the consequences of enrolling in a different address, and because I was campaigning with my friends from the Gillicuddy Series Party, and I wanted to support her and vote for her. I mean, I'm not trying to argue that it was a sensible decision or a sensible reason.
So,
but that is the reason. So,
did you know at the time that there was a 3-month jail sentence for enrolling in an address?
No, and I
Would
don't
that have
think
changed your decision?
I don't. Probably, if I know at the time. I don't think anybody does when they do something like this. These are things that you do sometimes, and they were foolish things to do at the time.
We're left with the impression.
You said this was a dorky thing to do, with your quote to John Campbell last night. Do you accept it was worse than dorky?
Well, it was clearly wrong and unlawful, and I accept that. I mean, this is, but, you know, what more can I say about that?
Do you think we're sort of left with the impression that back in your 20s you thought that the rules didn't apply to you? How have you changed your opinion now?
Yes, and at the time that I didn't tell Wins about my flatmates, I was making a deliberate decision around keeping my income sufficient for my daughter and I to live and for me to study or not. That was a very deliberate decision. The decision around enrolling at a different address was just one of those kind of things that I didn't think about at the time in any depth, and was clearly a mistake. Does that make sense?
Did you speak to Jacinda before deciding that you wouldn't take a ministerial position?
I haven't spoken to Jacinda.
Anyone in Labour?
I haven't spoken to anybody in Labour about this.
Do you think really sign documents saying that you did not have flatmates when you did? Is that a deliberate action?
I don't know. Because I don't remember whether I signed documents or not, or whether it was just a conversation that I had with my case manager.
But you deliberately set out to deceive them.
Yeah, I did not tell them the full number of people who were living in the house in order to improve the accommodation supplement, I think it was called at the time, just to make it easier, financially easier for my baby and I.
So it was more than you just not updating your circumstances?
Yes.
Do you think this
at that time was that your ex-partner, was he paying child support?
Not to me.
Do you think this and the popularity of Jacinda is going to hurt the Greens in the polls? After seeing a bump last week,
yeah, I do think that certainly Jacinda's popularity, I think we'll see a bump for them. We may see a decrease. Polls are going to bounce around between now and the election. And they will be I've never asked people to agree with what I did, and I accept that people are concerned today as well, which is why I'm doing my best to front up.
What's the state of?
Sorry.
Yeah, just what's the state of your relationship with Labour now after everything we've seen this week and in the past few weeks? Is it tough?
I've had quite a lot of contact over the course of the last week, and actually it's as strong as ever. Part of that is because I have close personal relationships with both Grant and Jacinda that go back many years, and so it's a very open kind of conversation that we have. And I don't perceive that there's any more difficulty now than there was a couple of weeks back or anything like that. I mean, this is the thing about the relationship that we have with Labour, is actually it's when times get tough that you're able to have those kinds of conversations rather than just when times are easy. That's actually the point, because we know that when we are in government, there will be times when things are really easier and times when things are really difficult. And so what we need is the depth and quality of relationship that we can get through difficult times as well.
Metiria said she hasn't spoken to Labour this morning, but have you, or has anyone within the Greens been in contact? So you speak to them, and how's that? What's that conversation been like?
I haven't been. It's been good. it's been very constructive. Yeah.
Does this
But
move?
They know about this announcement now, so we advised
Yeah.
them as part of the no surprises. We told them what we were announcing.
Does this move now, Metiria, mean that could this open up other possibilities after the election of you not seeking a cabinet position? Could it mean a potential coalition with National or any agreement there?
No, it doesn't mean a coalition with National.
Metiria, what about a change? What about a
David Seymour's
change?
been calling for you to
Sorry,
resign.
Adria.
David Seymour's been recalling for you to resign since last night. What would you say to him now?
Oh, he's entitled to his opinion, and he's free to express it. I am not resigning as the co-leader or as a member of Parliament. I won't be seeking a ministerial position in a new government, and I will continue to stand up for New Zealanders who are poor and who are treated with discrimination by the welfare system.
Sorry,
that's my job, that's why I'm here.
Just to be clear, who's spoken to who in Labour and the Greens this
So
morning?
our office has spoken with their office, and so they've been advised of what our statement is today. Which they know.
You two personally, or
No, not
your staff?
Why was your mum living with you at the time? You said that you've lived together off and on.
Yeah, so because we both needed somewhere to live, and living with each other made sense. There were periods where my mother was sick, but it's just easy to live with people that you know well.
Were you looking after her if she was sick?
She and I have lived together now for a very long time, and she's had a period of illness, and I've been really happy to be with her during those times.
Was she one of the flatmates that you didn't declare to win?
It wasn't so much about the individuals, it's the number of people. Does that make sense? So I've said yes that she was living in one of the flats, that I didn't declare the full number of people who were living there. If that makes sense.
Your original admission was intentional and a gamble, but a large part of that gamble relied on people not necessarily questioning your integrity about why you did what you did.
Yeah.
What would you say to anyone who, this further mission, it might be questioning your integrity?
Yeah, people will judge, and they're entitled to do so, and I fully understand that. I'm certainly not asking anybody to agree with what I've done, but I will always fight for those people who have had the least and who are treated the worst. And opening my story has allowed that conversation to happen. That's why I don't regret it, and I can't regret it. I knew that there would be a big personal cost, but actually my story is the last thing I have, is the last of the tools that I've got for this conversation. We have tried everything for the last 15 years. Bills, research, debates, campaigns. Nothing has made an appreciable difference because we haven't had the real conversation that people on benefits are treated with discrimination and disdain. So, yes, it's very difficult, it's very personal, it's very exposing. But this is the way beneficiaries live every day, and I'm at least trying to make that understood.
How do you think that conversation has gone, though? Because it seems to have just opened up a roar on Talkback. Do you think it's been constructive?
Oh, yes, I do actually. I'd rather people were talking about it on Talkback than not at all. I'd rather that people were talking on Twitter and being angry at me about this than not talking about poverty at all. And what it's opened up most is stories by other beneficiaries, past and present, saying what their life is really like. And that has been exposed. We've now had a huge number of, there's been a great deal of writing, there's been radio interviews, there's been television interviews. People are talking about what it means to be living on benefit in New Zealand in 2017 and how hard it is. I don't regret that. That is the conversation we need to be having. There is a price for that conversation and for starting it the way I have. And I accept that that price has to be paid.
Would you still like to be a minister at some point in the future, 3 years' time, say?
I would love to be a minister. Absolutely love that job. But this is not about me. Weirdly enough, it's actually about the people who need us to stand up for them. They are not in a position to be able to speak out for themselves. Somebody has to do it, and I am that person.
How long is this commitment standing?
It'll be up to Labour and the Greens after the election to make those decisions, and I can't presuppose that at this stage, but I am offering that I will not hold a ministerial position after the election if Greens and Labour are in the government together.
Mr. Turei, I want to ask you about...
Where were you living in 93 and 94, and how did you...
I was living in Mount Eden at that time.
Okay, so how did you go back and check? Because when I asked you, you said you didn't know, and then 3 hours later.
Yeah, I've been going back through. I told you when he asked me, I did tell you that I was living in Mount Eden. If you go back and have a look at the transcript.
Ms. Turei, about that.
When you were receiving the benefit when your daughter wasn't actually living with you?
No.
Just on the timing and all of this, when did you come to the decision that you wouldn't seek a ministerial position?
I considered that this morning, and I think that that was, I think that that made sense to have that as an option, and I think it's the right thing to be doing today.
On that
Andrew
1990
that he considered standing down was, I guess, his kiss of death, if you like.
Yeah.
Are you worried that by admitting the same thing that you've signed your own fate?
No.
You're
I'm not
going back here in
resigning.
2 days?
I'm not resigning. I'm not standing down. I know I have the backing of the party for making this decision. I know it's been a difficult decision for them and for me. But I have a bigger job to do here, and that is to build this movement to end poverty and to fix the welfare system. That is my #1 priority.
Have any of your MPs asked you to stand down? Have any of them said to you they're worried about the damage?
No.
On the electoral roll issue, what made you think it was okay to run for Parliament in one seat and be enrolled to vote in another seat?
That's legal in this, like.
Yeah, I know it's legal to run in one seat and be in the other seat, right? But
to run in one and to live in another.
Yeah, obviously. But you said that you lived somewhere where you didn't. Your electoral roll, you falsified your electoral roll. Why was that appropriate?
I don't think it was particularly appropriate. It was just one of those decisions I made at the time without considering the consequences. I mean, I can't really explain it much more than that. I was 23 at the time. It was just, I wasn't thinking.
And if
consequences of it.
you're not fit to be a minister in a Labor Greens government, what makes you fit to be the co-leader of the Green Party?
I'm doing my job, and my job is to stand up for those who don't have a voice, who can't stand up for themselves because the system is geared against them. And somebody has got to do it, and that is my job. And that's why I'm continuing on as both co-leader and as a Member of Parliament, because otherwise, who do those people have who will speak out for what they need? And that, like I say, that is my #1 priority. That is why I'm still here doing this work.
But
Could you be charged for electoral fraud?
I don't know.
There's quite a backlash over this. Do you admit that your position as co-leader could be actually hurting the Greens and Labor's chances of forming a government?
That may be possible. We will need to see. That is why, though, I'm fronting up to you all here today, as best as my ability to tell you what's going on. That's the best I can do.
Metiria, can I ask how your daughter is?
Can you help more as the minister? I mean, if you're not in a position to make decisions, don't let these people down.
No, well, yes, I would like to be running the transformation process as minister. Absolutely, I would. That would be my dream job. But what is most important is that it happens. And there are other people, both in Labor and the Greens, who are as equally capable of running that transformation program. I would want to be part of building it, but I recognise that it may be not appropriate for me to be the minister in charge of it. And I think that's just a price that has to be paid today.
Will you reconsider your position?
What does she think of all this, and how's she holding up?
She's fine, and she's very supportive and loving, like she has always been. She's a very good girl.
You've now admitted to frauds, essentially. How can New Zealanders trust you?
New Zealanders can trust me to speak on behalf of those who can't speak for themselves because they are too vulnerable. New Zealanders can trust me to put their interests first when it comes to protecting them from discrimination and a penal welfare system. I am confident from all of the messages I've received over the last 24 hours, I'm absolutely confident that there are many people out there who are looking to me to continue to defend and protect their interests, and that they are my #1 concern, and I'll continue to keep working for them.
Are you pointing out that these revelations do end up hurting the Green Party? Will you resign?
That is not my intention, and I expect to continue on as both co-leader and as Member of Parliament until the election. Campaign for compassionate welfare and ending poverty.
Will you remain MP after the election?
I expect so, yes.
I know you were saying that you are the voice for these people, and that's fair enough, but you're running to be a Member of Parliament, not a social justice social justice campaigner.
Oh, I don't think those two things are different.
But as a Member of Parliament, can you be a Member of Parliament when you've admitted to two fraudulent crimes?
Yes, I think I can. I think the job of a Member of Parliament is to represent our constituencies and stand up for New Zealanders who need us. That is why I'm here. It's why I became a Member of Parliament in the first place, and why I will continue to do so and work for them for as long as they want me to. And as of today, New Zealanders are still saying to me, please stay, please continue this work, because somebody has got to speak for us. We can't speak for ourselves on this.
One of your three main today, did they make it clear the sort of the extent, you know, if you're charged, does that take you beyond, or you know,
Yeah.
anything, does it take you on a 2-year sentence?
We didn't talk at MSD yesterday about the steps beyond assessing the overpayment. They said that they would have to do that first and then consider the evidence that they will have. They are sending me a list of all of the issues and questions that they need me to answer. And once I've answered all of those, we'll meet again to discuss it. But we didn't go that far into what charges look like.
You previously ruled out apologising. You still have that chance?
Well, I can't apologise for the decision that I made for my baby and I. We had bad choices, and I had to make one of a number of bad choices. I don't want anybody else to be in a position to have to make those kinds of choices again, which is why I want to transform the welfare system into one that is genuinely compassionate. I don't regret, despite everything, I don't regret telling my story, because we have had that conversation and it is worthwhile having.
One of your three election your three main election policies is good governance.
Yep.
How does all of this fit with that? Can New Zealanders, I mean, one of the biggest things in that is trust, and James, you pointed that out at the conference and made a big deal of that. If your co-leader is lying to the public, how can they trust her?
She's not lying to the public. I mean, she was the one who stood up at a press conference and actually said, to kind of said all of this, right? So I've known Metiria now for about 6 years, and in my experience, she is a person of extraordinary integrity. And to me, the definition of integrity is coherence between your values and your actions. And I don't think that there is anyone else in the country who acts so much in accordance with her values and her vision to transform poverty here in this country and to end poverty in New Zealand. That to me is the definition of integrity. Did she do some stuff in her past? Yes, she did. Lots of people have. And I think a lot of people go on a personal journey, they end up in Parliament, and they can say from experience, they've got a very clear idea about what is right and what is wrong. I think Metiria is one of the people who most clearly in this Parliament understands what is right and what is wrong, and that's why I'm with her.
Can I just ask, from an organisational level, maybe James or Metiria, to either of you, is there anything that the Greens Party does to have a look at the past of candidates, or essentially a vetting process, if you will?
Yeah, there is a vetting process, and that happens with each of the candidates. So.
Does it need to be better?
It always relies on the people who are involved. So I'll talk with the party about that, about whether they want to change the process as a result of my admissions.
Did you tell the party, or did you lie to the party about?
I didn't tell the party about these. This is one of the things people don't want to admit their wrongdoing. And the party will hold me to account for that as they choose.
I know we would have. Do you have any criminal convictions at all?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. Mostly for protesting.
Yeah. And those would have all been declared?
Yes.
Yeah.
James, have you got any?
Convictions? No, I have never been.
Criminal convictions?
Great conviction. No, I have no criminal convictions.
Do you know how many of your current MPs do have criminal convictions?
I don't.
No, I don't either. Yeah. It's sort of not really
That would be a matter between the MP and the party, and the co-leaders don't involve ourselves in that decision-making process or that information. So,
looking back, do you wish you'd done things differently?
Back when?
Any time over the last?
Anytime between 93 and
98. Probably think of a few things I would have done.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I had predicted my future and the kinds of work I'll be doing, maybe. But my experience during that time and my involvement with advocacy with unemployed rights, and my involvement with all of those political organisations, and my time on the benefit, and my law degree, and taking care of my baby, they are all things that led me here. And I can't regret any of that if it brought me here. Because this is the work that I am most passionate about doing. This is my reason, and so I can't regret all of those decisions. Otherwise I wouldn't be here doing this work.
If you think about, the House of Representatives should be representative of the population at large, right? And so what Metiria has done, and the response that we've been getting and that she's been getting from the work over the course of the last few weeks is that there are tens of thousands of people out there who feel that they have not, until this point, had a representative in the House of Representatives. And so that is why it is so important for her to continue to lead this work.
Metiria, there's some beneficiaries that have come forward and said they're upset with you because they feel like they're being tarred with the beneficiary fraud brush because of your admission. What do you have to say to those people?
I'm sorry that's how they feel, and they're perfectly entitled to both their opinion and to their criticism of me. I fully understand that. But I have had, and we've all seen, hundreds and hundreds of stories where people have said they've had to do a little thing to get themselves over the hump. Cleaning jobs under the table, sharing jobs, And because it is so consistent a story across time, as well as across the beneficiary communities, it means that there's something wrong with the system. The system has to be fixed, but it can only be fixed if we acknowledge that there is a problem, and the only way to talk about the problem is to tell the stories, which is why I told mine and why thousands of other people have told theirs.
Will you make a promise to the New Zealand public that there are no more lies to come out of this story?
I have nothing more. So I've told my story as best I can. This is it.
Last couple of questions, guys. Anything else?
Are you concerned that people look at you and see that you got away with this for 20 plus years and think, well, I'm just going to start lying now as well? Take the risk?
No, I don't think that that's what people will think at all. What people are saying to me is, that was me 20 years ago, that was my mum 20 years ago, and nobody has been prepared to speak out about the reality of it. And thank you for doing so. So I think that's people just want an advocate for change. And that's what they're asking me to be.
Operationally, say after September, after you go into government with Labour and change the minister, what kind of influence will you have on the party that then Prime Minister is still in the government?
So I would hope that I would be part of building the program of transformation in welfare. I also have other responsibilities as co-leader and working with and managing a new caucus, which we expect to have. So there's a lot of work, other work to do.
And would you expect to have a harder fight than normal at the next annual conference to remain co-leader?
No, actually, and yeah, no, I don't.
What portfolio would you wanted?
Social development was one I had my heart set on, but such as it is, I won't be the Minister for Social Development after the next election. I'll be doing other work in Parliament alongside my Green colleagues.